Hello and welcome to our video on using the discriminant. Before we go on to the discriminant, I want to remind you about the previous video. We learnt about the quadratic formula, which you should have down as x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Just make that b look more like a b. There we go. That's our quadratic formula. Now when you're solving a quadratic equation, there could be 0, 1 or 2 solutions. We've looked at that as well. Sometimes you end up with no solutions and it's impossible to solve, and we've been able to find that out through using the CAS calculator. Or only one solution and it's a repeated solution. Or there are 2 solutions, which is what most of the ones we've looked at so far. They all have 2 solutions. Now the discriminant is a part of the quadratic formula, which is useful to tell us how many solutions our equation will have. So we can just find the value of the discriminant and it will tell us whether there are 0, 1 or 2 solutions. So this can be useful if you don't have your calculator with you to find out how many solutions there are, or if you're trying to factorize a quadratic equation and it's just not working and you're thinking maybe it's one of those impossible ones. Just use this discriminant and you can find out whether it has 0 solutions or not. Now, the discriminant is represented by the Greek letter delta. That's a triangle, which looks like this. You might have seen it in science to mean change. It means change in maths as well, but it also represents a discriminant because discriminant starts with D and delta is the letter D in Greek. So this is ancient Greek mathematics. So the discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac. And if you take a look back up here at our quadratic formula, it's the inside of the square root bit. So if you've memorized the quadratic formula, you don't need to rememorize the discriminant, you just remember that it's the bit under the square root there, and you've already got it memorized. Now, let's look at an example. So we're trying to solve this equation, 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. First step, just like using the quadratic formula, is to write out a, b and c. Here a is equal to 3, b equals 2 and c equals 1. Second step is to write out the formula we're using, b squared minus 4ac. Third step is to substitute your values in. B is 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1. And simplify. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times 1, negative 12. And our discriminant here equals negative 8. Now, when you get a value for the discriminant, you need to use the following table to help you work out how many solutions there are. And the table says if delta is less than 0, which really means if delta is negative, then there are no real solutions. So this example has a negative value for delta. So we can finish it off by putting delta is less than 0, therefore no real solutions. Now this word real is really important. Really. Real is really important. it's important because surely you'll be thinking there aren't any unreal numbers, but there are actually some imaginary numbers that you'll learn about if you do some more advanced mathematics. So mathematicians, because they wanted to be able to solve these types of problems where delta is negative, they made up some imaginary numbers that help us to solve these equations. So if you go on to do advanced mathematics, you can use imaginary numbers to solve this, but all you need to know for now is that if delta is negative, less than 0, then there are no real solutions. So you need to write the word real. You cannot write no solutions because that's not correct. There are imaginary solutions. The other options, if you work this out and delta was equal to 0, exactly equal to 0, like here, then there's one real solution. And if you worked it out and delta was positive, so greater than 0, then there are two real solutions. So you can find delta for any quadratic equation that's in expanded form, and it will help you to find the number of solutions. You can then go on to factorize or use the quadratic formula fully to solve your equation. Now, I also want to point out that if delta is negative, going back to the quadratic formula up here, remember delta is the bit inside the square root sign. So if delta is negative, we're trying to find the square root of a negative number. And that's why we have no real solutions, because you can't find the square root of a negative number. So that's a bit of a giveaway for you as well. Thanks for watching the video today.